Alright guys, welcome to episode 5. The wheels are on, we're going to get the car rolling and show you guys how to set up a perfect ride height. Also, the Wilwood master cylinder onto the booster, and we'll start setting up our EFI fuel system. Hope you enjoy. Alright, so the car's on all fours. We've got on its new tyres. Now before we do any measuring for heights, because that's what we're here to work out at the moment, give the bounce up and down a little bit. Obviously it's a painted car, don't scratch it, but our rocket, Matty will jump up and down on the front. We'll try and settle the front. I'll jump up and down on the rear. We'll get the shocks to get pretty close to travel height. It's our first thing to do. Right, so now we're bounced up and down. What I'll do is I'll grab Matty to get us a bit of 100mm box tube off the rack. We'll double check our front set at the right height. Now we've gone 2-inch drop stub. We've got the Viking coilovers. Now the Viking coilovers are wound right down, so we can bring the car up if needed. And we've got the drop stub, but if you want to get one of these cars, a cruiser, all the boys in it, you want to look right. So the front's pretty close. So what we'll do is we'll slide a bit of 100mm box. We'll double check our heights. If our clearances are good at the front, we'll run it to the rear, make sure everything is clear in the ground. Now, rule of thumb is 100mm, that's what I run with. Check with your engineer, because you've got to allow for your 3 mates with a beer belly in the back, a couple of slabs of beer and a full tank of fuel. So it's going to settle a bit more at the back, so we won't quite go as heavy in the rear. So easiest and quickest way for you guys at home, tape measure. Well, there we go. Looks like Matty's been out to the archives. So we've got a bit of 100mm. So it's just an old post probably from a shed laying around. So if we slide that underneath, we know our clearances are going to be fine. So it's the easiest way. So we grab it and we slide it to the rear. So if you can run that through there and you've got clearance, it's a really good starting point. It's not as technical as a TOG with his little wheel when he rolls it underneath to check on you, but it's a good starting point. Now, if we stand back, we look at the car, we're really happy with the way the front sits. Obviously the rear needs to come down. So rule of thumb is what we work on around here. Here's your tyre, you're feeling your arch there. So it's looking really good from the distance. When you go to the rear, you can see a massive gap between tyre and arch. Oop, jump in the way of the camera. So if we look at the gap in there, what I'm aiming for is to get this tyre to settle up into there. It should get a good looking ride. So if we go up to there, look, I'm thinking around the 40mm mark. Now, I use a company in Melbourne called Brown Springs to reset the lease. They're really good to deal with. They've been around for longer than I've been alive. So they're a great bunch of guys. Look them up. The link below, a cameraman here will tag us into that. So on YouTube, keep an eye out for these guys. So we measure down to your center point. That's where these guys will want you to measure, center of axle. We've got 360. I want to take about 40mm off. So just explain to them on the phone that your arch is 360, the center point with the wheels that you are going to use. You want to take 40mm off, so 360, we're going to 320 at finish. So I can roll that back now, springs out, send down to Brown Springs, get the guys to reset it. We'll throw them in, wheels back on, roll it out, we'll see what it looks like. Alright mate, lift it up. Alright, we're going to dismantle the rear end. Wheels off, diff out, we'll get the springs out so we can get them sent away to the boys at Brown Springs. Righto, it's time to move on the fuel system. So I'm in the back here. We're going to remove everything away from the fuel tank. A couple of screws in the back corner, lift the car up, remove the series of screws and the tank will pop out and we'll fit our EFI fuel pump. Righto, so Jason's got our tank out, we've got our new pump, we've got a new welding ring. So what we have here is the old sender unit, which we're going to leave that in so we can use the factory gauge. So we might as well keep the factory gauge. Now, you can see that strip of dirt has made a perfect line across there. Now that is the brace up the top there. So we'd prefer to keep the brace in it. We'd try and keep the car as factory as possible. If we don't need to amend it, we don't bother doing it. So what we want to do is the pump's going to pick up. It's got a lot of depth. It's roughly about, we come around to the side there. We look there, it's going to sit in there nice and low so we can pick up the fuel down the bottom. So what we'll do is to keep our factory unit, the sender does float out to the middle, so it will go up and down. So we'll jump over to this far corner. We happy there, Jace, you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon that's good.
Alright, so we've got a good spot there. We're not going to have to touch the brace. So what we'll do is we'll mark the inside there so Jace can run a ring around where he's going to cut it. Alright, so we're all marked. That's going to be our cutout for our new pump. Now, guys, this is the important bit. Welding a fuel tank, cutting a fuel tank is very dangerous and should only be done by the professionals. So what Jace will do is we'll go and wash it completely out. When he does do the job, it will be full of water and he will be purging the system. So do not try it at home. Get your local, get a professional to do it, whoever you can. But if they haven't done a tank before, do not use them. It is a dangerous job and has to be done only by a professional. Righto, so Jace has welded it, cleaned the tank, it's ready to go. Put a little bit of black paint on there just to stop it rusting on the outer of the tank, and the inner will be fine with the fuel. So what we're going to do is there's two options. With the new pump system, it does come with a float, and you can set it yourself, changing the angles around to suit your tank, to get your heights, bit of a bend, do what you want to do. But get rid of that. What we're going to do is we're going to run the factory system. Now, the factory system works with the gauge. We know it does, it's already set. So the upside of this, so the rubber O-ring back on, is when it goes in, you'll see the float, it heads out on an angle. So it's out in the middle, our pump's over this side. It's nowhere near the new pump, so it's got plenty of room. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of theory. Drop that back in, and we'll clip that back on very shortly just with a hammer and screwdriver. Now go to the new pump system. Gasket seal first. Obviously we'll put our pump in, gently lower it down. Now the upside with this pump system is you can rotate it any angle you like. So what we will do is we'll put our little retainer on there. I have got the bolts. Now all we'll do is we'll do the bolts up finger tight. So once they're finger tight, we'll get it back up in the car, then we can adjust it round any angle we would like, and then it'll be ready to plumb up. Righto, so they've arrived. We've got our hanging brackets for the exhaust system. I'll grab Griffo, we'll get him back out here, and he will show you guys how to mount the hangers to the exhaust. Alright, so we're going to upgrade the master cylinder here. Now, there's two ways to do it. You can delete the booster and run our boosterless kit. It works really well. But today, we're going to run the boosted kit. So we're going to run a 1.1 master. Keep our goodie bag. Now, the most important thing when you get the master cylinder, which a lot of guys don't do, the bleed kit. You will have to bleed your master cylinder off the car. So on a bench, in a vise, bleed it up. Now, check the link below. We've done it before. See how we do it. Have a quick rundown, mate. It's a must. You must bleed it off the car. A pro valve, so the proportional valve, so we can set the brakes. Just gives us a little bit more freedom of how to set the front rear up. Makes the car drive a lot better. And we would offer a master cylinder bracket kit. Goes on the side of the master, really easy to fit. So stay with me. I'll strip this one down and I'll run you through how to fit it up. Righto, so we've got the factory master in the vise here, just nip him up. What we're going to do, firstly, is wrap a rag around it because it's going to spray a bit of fluid out. So we'll catch that. Now, what we want to do is check the travel. So we just use our screwdriver. Everyone at home's got one, and a steel ruler. Look, it's easy. There's more accurate ways of doing it, but for you guys at home, this is probably the easiest way just to double check. We've got a paint pen and we'll give ourselves a little mark on here. So Philip's head's in there, it's bottomed out. We'll mark him on, say, the 200 mark of the ruler. So now, if we just hold that there, we're on the 200. We bottom it all the way out till we know how far we've got. Right, so we're down to 174. So that gives us 26 mil of travel. So now what we'll do is we'll remove the factory one quickly. Grab our new Wilwood one. Now we'll do this while it's dry, so we won't need to cover it up, so there's no fluid. Now the mark will be different on the screwdriver, so as you can see, we've got different depths, so that's the next thing we'll come to very shortly. So we'll get rid of our mark, make a new one on the 200 again. We're on the 200, we place him in, and we're at 173, so we're within 1 millimeter. So like I said, there's more accurate ways to check it, but for you guys at home, that's an easy way. Right, so now as we spoke about before, we need to check the length, so to make sure that it marries up in the exact same location from the factory to the new Wilwood on the front of the push rod on the booster. So easiest way to do it, grab ourselves a straight edge, so off the mounting face of where it bolts to the booster, we slide inside, we check there, we've got ourselves 56 millimeters. So if we write down 56, just make note. Quick scribble on Matt's bench, he'll clean it off later. Clip them back out, back to your factory one. Now this is to check the difference. There will always be a slight difference. Some makes and models you will get lucky. We slide it back down so we get the machine face on the back of the ruler, to the one that's going to go onto the booster, and we've got 36. So obviously we've got a difference there of 20 millimeters where it bolts from the face on the booster to where the push rod is going to start pushing the master cylinder. Now, in the Wilwood master cylinder kit, there always is little aluminium bullets that slide down into your master cylinder. Cut that to length, chamfer the edge over. They slide straight back down in there, and now we have the same depth as factory to bolt back on your booster. So if you follow the links below, it'll show you how to bench bleed a master cylinder. If you don't bench bleed it, it's never going to work properly, so you must do that. So check the link below, do that, then we'll head back and we'll fit it to the car. Righto, so we're back at the car, the master cylinder is bled, and as I keep saying, the old broken record, you must bleed your master cylinder on the bench before you fit to the vehicle. So that's over and done with. Now we'll mount the master onto the booster, but as we do that, check your instructions for your proportion valve bracket kit, because you will need to do that as you do it. So instructions and bracket. Now with it, what we need to do, sit that down here, we need a couple of spacers out of the kit. So most kits, you'll need both spacers. Now on the HT here, we only need one, due to we have the support bracket off the inner guard. So master cylinder with the push rod extension in it, goes on the booster. We put our little bracket down on one side. We get rid of one spacer because we won't be using one of the spacers. The other spacer we put down on here first. Then to the bracket. Now what I have done originally, you had a nut and a washer. Now the thread shortened up a little bit, so I want to get a little bit more thread on the nut. So what we go to is a serrated hex nut. So any bolts, nuts, fasteners space, we've got them here on the shelf. So if you don't get them in your kit, don't be afraid to ask. So serrated hex nut makes better grabbing. Alright, so the bracket kit's mounted. On to the next thing, we'll fit the proportioning valve. The best thing about the proportion valve, it fits really easy in the engine bay. You can mount it wherever you want, but as we've already spoke about, we've got a mounting kit. So, proportioning valve out of the packet. The wires for the switch, we'll save them for later on. Our mounting kit, they come with the bracket that we've already mounted to the side of the master cylinder, as in the bag here, and the bolts. We'll just sit all them on the inner guard. Now, fittings that come with the master cylinder to suit. Now when fitting it, fit it all finger tight first, double check it all, then go over it and tighten it up. So, brake lines that come in the kit that are really easy to use. I know not many guys at home will be able to get a bend to fit so well. Alright, so they are only finger tight. We've got our main bolts here. Both come in from each side. We tighten them up as so. May have to back the bracket off a little bit to line everything up and tighten the fittings up as you go. So you can see how that works. Now, when it comes back to your factory brake lines, you can shorten them off, get your lines flushed and replace the ends for the fittings to suit. But what we would prefer you do is replace all your brake lines, because wear and tear in the life of the vehicle, they are going to be pretty ordinary and there'll be a lot of stuff inside them lines. So highly recommend you replace your brake lines. Righto, this is going to be a wrap. Master cylinder's done, it's ready for its new lines. We've got the tank in, it's waiting on some new lines. Ride height set, looking awesome. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for episode 6 and subscribe down below.